Alright, what's up, people? This your boy Twan, man. I'm out here over Chobe CI 6x9 with my boy King U. What's up, you?
What's going on, baby?
Man, let the people know where you from, bro.
I'm mostly from Southside Jamaica, Queens. I lived all over a lot of places, though. My earliest memories come from Detroit, but Southside Jamaica, Queens for the most part. That's what's up.
Alright, when you came out here to Florida?
I've been coming back and forth to Florida since '99 when I moved my kids out here, and then separated from my baby moms because of the distance. I was on paper in New York, so I've been coming out here since '99. But I was visiting my kids, and I had been visited them for about a day and a half in 2006 when I caught discharge right before I was getting ready to head back up north with my ex from a different relationship.
My boy King U say he came down in 2006 and
16 years ago.
got convicted of a second-degree murder for defending himself. Caught a raw deal, which I can relate to. Today we're gonna talk about, raw deals and some of the issues pertaining to the judicial system down here in the state of Florida, Department of Corrections. On top of other things, I met King U back in 2012 at Jackson CI, and having a good opinion of others, being down 25 years myself, meet a lot of guys that, put up certain images and certain facades. You learn to see through individuals. My boy King U, he always been solid, always been stand up, always been for what's right. And today, other than telling his story, brother's gonna share, some of his visions and his drive, about what this message is today. And if you wanna elaborate a little bit, brother, about, what your drive is and your passions and things like that, let the people know what's up.
Well, primarily, I want to aid and assist the youth, especially the ghetto youth, because that's where I came from, the ghetto. So my concern is there primarily, and I want to aid and assist them as far as their future defenses of themselves against oppression and corrupt mentalities and misunderstandings of self. You know what I mean? So I want to prepare them to seek and position themselves in positions of power in the future. Um, like you said, I got a pretty much a raw deal. And I was with like my ex, like I told you, we came out here, we was visiting my kids, we had a good time. We were getting ready to head back up north, like I said, and we got surrounded by 5 guys. I put 3 of them in the hospital, and one of them died. They attacked us. They were after her. So, what I found is that out here they try their best to punish African American men, at least the ones they feel that they can get away with, for exercising their constitutional rights. At the time that this situation happened with me, the standing ground law was over a year old, so there's no way that I should have been here. The person who died actually was the 3rd or 4th person in the fight, so I was fighting 2 or 3 guys before this guy even got in and got himself killed. So I'm very concerned with the future, and I noticed that certain people in positions feel like they could just, remove us from society and no one would care. So,
Well, brother, for centuries, the so-called black people of America suffered at the hands of oppression, from being lied to, being lied on, miseducated and misled, dehumanized and degraded. So, today we're using the digital world where info is easily accessible and many are becoming more conscious and aware, of the games that was played, So we here using the social media platform, hopefully this gives us a conduit to share and interact with the world, interact with our youth, interact with our culture. And your experience, your upbringing, your trials and tribulations, things you've been to, being convicted of a second-degree murder for defending yourself from 4 or 5 other individuals, gives you a lot of credibility to talk about, corruption in the system and things of that nature. So, I would like to ask you, uh, today, I've been knowing you since 2012. Like I said, we're here the end of 2022, and I want to ask you, brother, how old are you now?
Now I'm 48. When I came in, I was 32.
Okay, you're 48 years old. You came to prison when you was 32. At 48 years old, what would you tell a 17-year-old King you?
Pretty much what I always tell you, I would tell them patience and composure. Exercise patience and composure. Have faith. Have faith and believe in yourself. Don't give up on your dreams and aspirations. Try not to settle for taking shortcuts as a means to success all the time. There's so much to learn in the details. You know what I'm saying? That are not just beneficial for that you aspire to at that point in time, but also in the future. The habit of paying attention to the details. And I would say study the law. Okay, you got people making $50,000, $100,000 off these cases and stuff like that, but you can and will one day be competent in legal,
Understanding the law.
yeah, legal matters. So the point is, prepare yourself because these are the techniques that they're using as oppression nowadays. Before it was a law, and now it's okay. Let's skip these laws and go straight to these laws. That's what you're gonna find that they do a lot, and you got to keep bringing them back to these laws because these laws give them jurisdiction. These laws give them the authority according to public appeal society. Okay, we believe in the structure of the law. Okay, so basically, be prepared. Prepare yourself.
So, with that being said, how important is the language of the law?
The language of the law, competency of the law, literacy of the law, these things are very important. I first started studying law, and the first two pages of the law book I had to read for 3 months straight, over and over and over again, because the technique in which they taught was so foreign to me. They would use the word as instead of because. Instead of because this and this is happening or has happened, you say as this and that happened. And I wasn't used to that. So you gotta learn, you wanna learn that. I would tell the 17-year-old me get a Black's Law dictionary.
Fact. And what do you think about the due process of law in the state of Florida?
The due process of law, as far as the enforcement of the due process of law, is fundamentally flawed because of the character of those who have been, allowed to take these positions of law enforcement. I'm not going to say all of them. I'm going to say that a large portion, well, larger than one would believe, and there seems to be a lot of cover-ups and a lot of failure to really address, this type of malpractice of law enforcement because these guys will set you up real quick and run you through the system, and just because they don't feel like grabbing anybody else, and they'll make it all look good, it'll sound good. Meanwhile, they've committed perjury and they grabbed you without subject matter jurisdiction. They're gonna have void judgments and void invalid instruments, documentation, and stuff like that, things that are not notarized, or and you're gonna find a lot of this out here in Florida, and this is why they're not even trying to fix it because there's too much of it. So you know what I'm saying, and as if these things don't matter, but these things are the primary basis for you being brought before people to even consider if you're guilty or not. So yeah, there's
Sounds like all the more reason for prison reform in the state of Florida.
prison reform, criminal justice reform in all forms. It really has to be more deeper character research done before hiring these people, and constant evaluations of whether or not they'll take shortcuts. Because when you talk about taking shortcuts, these guys take shortcuts, and you get screwed in the end.
Yeah, it sounds like a morality issue. Let me ask you this: what would you like to see more from the so-called leaders in general? Whether political leaders or affiliated gang members or anything pertaining to you, what would you like to see more of from the so-called leaders in this country?
Well, I like to see a lot more leaders, period, because of the simple fact that we don't have enough. You know what I'm saying? The ones that we have are overburdened, and it's scary for them. You know what I mean? They don't have the protection that they once would have had. They don't have a lot of things are made to look like accidents and suicides, and you know what I mean, drug overdoses and stuff like that. There's so much uh, underhandedness going on that I'm I'm in fear for those who stand up. But we need more leaders regardless, because of the simple fact that what I'm saying, there's over 35 million African Americans in this country. I've been led to believe by publicized statistics. So that's a lot of people to cover. You know what I mean?
And where you stand at with entertainment, rap music or actors or whatnot? Do you feel like they're doing enough for the youth? I mean, do you feel like
Well, I'm gonna put it like this: they're doing what they do. They're entertainers, so they entertain. I don't knock them. You know what I'm saying? I've done my little share of attempting to entertain myself, chasing that rap dollar. You know what I mean? So I do know that that's not their burden, because entertainers are not usually the leaders in the culture, as they basically try to stigmatize our entertainers as being, you're the voice, you're the leader, this, that, and the other. Our basketball players, they, where is it in the world that other cultures have these type of people as leaders? These people are dedicating too much time to their craft to be able to even contemplate everything that needs to be contemplated. Even the most intelligent and the most revolutionary minded, or you know, active, you know what I'm saying, people, you know what I'm saying, they're dedicating several hours a day to their craft. We need people who can dedicate those same hours to these issues.
you 48, bro? I'll be 48 in another month.
Yeah, young buck.
And our generation, you know, uh, we didn't partake of everything. Specifically talking about drugs. Certain drugs was taboo to us. Certain drugs was, considered other cultures' drugs. So what do you have to say about the fact that our people, the so-called black people in this country, are partaking into more of, like, the opiates and the amphetamines, and that was unheard of back in the day. What is your message for that?
Well, I would tell the youth there's several things that you're gonna go through, and I would tell single mothers to tell their children, or be prepared for these issues to come up with their children. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of us are locked up. That's the purpose of this right here, this new, what we're doing right here, conversation, interview, whatever. You know what I mean? To aid, those out there who don't have their fathers around. I don't have all the answers, but I have some. You know what I'm saying? I have something to offer. And I'll tell you like this, okay? Basically, one, in elementary school, what you're gonna go through, you start learning Black history. You're gonna find out that they don't know anything about Black history. The only thing they know is about Black slavery. Okay, so that's going to hurt you. That's going to be something that's going to have you upset and distract you from your classes, cause you to doubt yourself, cause you to doubt the power of your people, and or people of the same complexion of you. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to know that those things only happen because we were outnumbered. You can't put a man inside of this cell with me and he's gonna make me a slave. No. You know what I'm saying? That's not gonna happen. So it was only because we were outnumbered. The only reason we carried the whip on our back is because of the simple fact that our families were at risk. Our women and children were at risk. If we did not take that whip, they were liable to be tortured and used because these people wanted their money's worth. You understand what I'm saying? So I want you to understand that, so do not feel inferior based on that condition of our history. All right? Don't let it intervene with your studies and your classes, and don't expect other people to be able to relate. Okay? Now, you have those who are very sympathetic, but they don't carry the burden that we carry, and this goes on for years, but that's not realizing what I've just told you. Okay? So it's purely a numbers thing when it comes down to that. Right? Yeah, right now we're about 12%, 13% of the population of the country. Back then we were probably even a little less. Um, Also, drugs, like bro was saying. You talking about drugs, I say, hey, listen, man. Most of the time we grab onto those things when we hit the street or we're going through puberty, when we're insecure, when we're trying to find answers, we're trying to look cool, feel better about wherever the hell we're at in our situation, or we just don't want to care. You know what I mean? Or we're trying to be down with somebody else. Okay? And then it takes us decades to get these habits out of our lives. You know what I'm saying? These things are being bombarded into our society and our culture and our little communities for a reason, to distract us, to minimize our economic power. Um, yeah, so I want you to realize that even selling drugs, that's an addiction. A lot of people get addicted to people treating them with a respect that they don't deserve, or as if they're more intelligent than they really are because this person has what they want. And then when you try to quit selling drugs, you went through hell, you don't want to do it, you've been robbed, or you went to prison or whatever. You say, I want to change my life, and then you don't have that drug, and people not treating you the same. You're like, damn, I can't wait till I get back on because basically you're addicted to that. You know what I'm saying? And right now, drug dealers are not the richest men in the world anymore. It's tech moguls. So right now, we don't have one African American who is financially worth the equivalent of what the richest American is worth, even a fifth of what he's worth. So that should let you know something. That should let you know something. After all these years in this country, out of all the work that we put in, okay, so things have to change. We need the American people to recognize that we are still being dealt raw deals. We are still being mistreated by the courts. We're still being mistreated by law enforcement. They're not, they'll punish us to the full extent of the law, but they won't protect us to the full extent of the law. Okay, these type of things I want you to be prepared for. Obstacles in your life right now, they might sound major, but they're only practice because you got many more coming. So don't go out there feeling like, oh, once I overcome this, life should be like this. Open arms, everything smooth. Get that out your head. That right there, should, TV show stuff, right there, boom. That's gonna leave you disappointed and emotionally disturbed, and it's gonna be a distraction from you actually handling the business at hand as things come into your life, because you are very capable of handling whatever comes your way.
A lot of accomplishments, achievements, success, or whatever comes from the mind of the so-called black man in this country, whether we acknowledge for it or not. So, you know, so mind is a terrible thing to waste, and drugs do alter the mind. Bruh, guys not stepping up to the plate, as far as taking care of their responsibilities, leaving these single moms, alone. What do you have to say to them?
Well, we'll put it like this: a lot of men right now do not actually know their place. They've been told. They right now they're in a place where they're not being even told their place enough. Back in the days, we was told our place, but we was also being told, hey, be more this way, be more that way. They've been trying to feminize um, men, but especially African American men in this country, from the beginning of our, transportation here against our will. So, you know what I mean? When I say that, it's not an attack on femininity. What it is just to let you know that, it's destroyed the balance of the family unit. And right now, the women have been told, hey, leave him for this and leave him for that. The men have been told, the same thing they was told when they were slaves, but now it's cool. Before it was, we respected our brother's property, we respected our brother's women. Now it's cool to have sex with your brother's girl. Like, oh yeah, I did that. You know what I'm saying? That right there is something that I imagine a slave master would do to make sure that the man who was married to the woman didn't feel like he actually had her, and to cause division between the brothers, is to make him have sex with her and then pat him on the back for doing it. Okay, so I mean, I'm just using that as an example. We give up on each other. We've been taught to give up. I know there's a lot of things going out there talking about, negative energy, independent king, independent queen. There's no such thing. An independent king or independent queen, that's an oxymoron. A king and a queen are established by the people. There's no way to be independent on that. A king is going to accept counsel, is going to have counsel. People who are more advanced than him in each and every area, and he's going to bring them together.
Just like corporate America, you got different branches, people that know certain
All,
things that you don't know.
all those things are based on the imitations of the family unit, the family structure, even the military. Okay, so everything as far as organization stems from that. Right now, we are having problems with the most fundamental aspects of our lives, and that's the family structure. Um, so I say, hey, don't give up on each other so easy.
So okay, promotion wise, what do you suggest, like, guys like you and I that have been through the struggle, and other so-called leaders for whatever area of their life they got going on, what would you like to see more promoted of for our youth?
I would like to see our youth aimed at positions of power in this country. I would like to see them taking more hands-on uh, and intellectual as well action when it comes down to the economically dominant industries in this country. You know what I mean? They're more than qualified. You know, I want to see them working for Apple. I want to see them being clerks of court. I want to see them, you know, protecting each other the same way I see other ethnicities do. So basically, just I want to see more balance. I want to see more, effort to overcome and oppression.
So just not just about being a rapper or a ball player, basically.
Oh no, of course not. I mean, that right there is a beautiful thing. It's lovely. You know what I'm saying?
But everybody can't do it.
But it's not. It's not about everybody doing because everybody has their place. But the point is, we have positions that are not filled. We have positions that are not filled, and those positions are fundamental to any community's success. You know what I mean? So we right now what they have is what I deem the matrix. You know, feed them whatever. With the mother, she don't need a man supposedly, or at least to keep a man. You know what I'm saying? But she'll have a baby, and now if it's a male, when he becomes a man, he's either a asset or a liability. You know what I mean? So man, the thing is to get him off the streets. You know what I'm saying? So now they feeding us to the system and they feed us. Then make sure he gets somebody pregnant first. You know what I'm saying? So man, now he's a father, but he's in prison. Instead of actually allowing us to have our communities, there's so much pressure placed on our community. These guys, and I'm not talking, in terms of race so much, but there is a race that dominates in these areas. And what I'm saying is basically they go safari hunting in what we call the concrete jungle. They aim in all their police efforts in our areas, as a distraction of what's going on because there's just as much drug use, there's just as much domestic violence, there's just as much
Same thing still going on.
the same things go on in their rural and suburban areas. You know what I'm saying? But they have a boss who's been running the neighborhood. He's been a gangster for 30, 50 years, and his father was grandfather, and they got this power, and they go, basically untouched. But they're gonna focus everything to make sure that somebody, like, in our neighborhood is looked at as a threat. So, as the primary threat. And, these cops are considered, I'm not gonna say all of them, I'm gonna say a large part that I've dealt with are scared of these guys in their neighborhood. They're not gonna try that stuff that they do in our neighborhood. They come out in our neighborhood with their chest puffed out. In their neighborhoods, they're humble. You understand what I'm saying? So they because their families out there and so forth and all this type of stuff. But in our neighborhood, they come and terrorize us. And as long as you keep chopping off the head, you're always going to have something immature to deal with. So this is why we have a lot of immaturity in our community. We have a lot of young people taking the money that's being flooded into our communities. Um, you know, Suddenly you got young millionaires because they got to handle all this money that older people are supposed to be able to handle more finessefully and be able to smooth the road for our progress. So a lot of times it's going to cause a lot of erratic violence. Now, violence is natural. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about China. It's gonna be Chinese on Chinese. Italy's gonna be Italian on Italian. This Russia's gonna be Russian on Russian. This is the way it is. Anywhere you go, that's the type of thing. So black on black violence, crime, and that's not really the issue. The issue is the self-esteem. The issue is what it's about, the pettiness, things like that. See, these type of things is what we have to address. We can't address it as a whole, as far as violence and stuff like that, because that's natural. But for it to be for such ignorant and wholly self-destructive reasons, you know what I mean, and traditional now, you know what I mean, that right there is an issue. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the the big homies that I know, and we build on these type of things now. Now we are looking to find a way. I belong to the largest African and Hispanic American movement in the world right now. You know what I mean? So, and Supreme Empire, that's what I push. That's my thing. So, you know what I'm saying? I've been approved, you know what I'm saying, to and supported, you know what I'm saying? And I like to give a shout out to all those who, who've been supporting us, you know what I'm saying? It's a Miller thing, 120 NGB, you know what I'm saying? The big homies out west, we pay respect to that, you know what I'm saying? This Supreme Empire is about putting the youth in positions of power. So, we got a lot to do. We got a lot of work to do.
What type of since you stuck in the system for the time being, um, what type of programs you feel like is needed, or type of programs you would like to be a part of before you're released, because you will be released one day?
Well, what I do is I talk to as much youth as I can and tell them to talk to the youth. The same way, same issues that we've been building on for the last few years, bro. You know what I'm saying? The same way you go and might grab a couple people and drop a little something on a few jewels. My thing is to make sure I do it repetitively, because I don't know which one of these guys is going to be the one, or which two or three. You know what I mean? And at the same time, it's hard for you to stay focused with all these emphasis and misdirection.
Facts. Well, as we bring this dialogue to a conclusion, bro, you want to shout out anybody personally, or anything you want to say before we close out?
Well, I want to shout out my people, man. I believe that we've come a long way considering what we've been through. We're not as bad off as a lot of people make us to believe we are. As far as these organizations that they're calling groups against national government, gangs and stuff, most of us are not against the national government. We're actually against oppression. You know what I'm saying? So, I think a lot of more respect needs to be given. We can't just run from these things. These things are coming. So these things are taking over. The East Coast where I'm from, like a tsunami. You know what I mean? It's our job to be part of this thing, to make sure that it goes in the direction that's respectable for our people. They stole our tribe, they stole our languages. This is us getting ours back. Most tribes have been way more violent. You know what I'm saying? We seem to be trained to be scared of everything. You know what I'm saying? Even ourselves. You know what I mean? But most tribes have been way more violent.
All right, what any word to the politicians, bro? With Democrat, Republican, local,
Well, I mean, trying to figure out how you can make yourself respect us more, because of the simple fact that we don't have to be part of your ideal ambition for us to have value. You know what I mean? And for our men to be respected and our families to be respected. You want to be part of this. You want to lead. We don't have a problem with you. Stop having a problem with us.
Facts, bro. That's what's up, bro. It was an honor, bro, and it was a pleasure, bro. You know, I always love you, bro. I can't wait to we hook up.
Yeah, that's the aim, man. I'll be on the street.